welcome back to Just Another Football Podcast. After a second consecutive historic Arsenal win that will be remembered for generations, and Harry's here for it. You were at the game today, weren't you, Harry?
I was, and last week, which explains my absence from that. But I was there, so I can tell you what really happened.
What
at
really?
Arsenal Man United today on Super Sunday.
Fantastic. Fergal's here as well. Hello, Fergal.
Hello.
The fortunes of our teams aren't nearly as good as Arsenal right now. There will be a passing comment to just a drab, just another football podcast derby. Chelsea, Liverpool, Chelsea 0-0. Awful game. At the Arsenal Man United game, completely different thing. Harry, first question. Yes or no, please. Are you going to win the league? I will say this. Fact. Arsenal are on pace for 100 points.
Yeah, can't argue it. This is very easy calculation as well. Half the season played now, 19 games.
Yes.
50 points.
Yeah.
More points than the Invincibles had after 19 games.
By 5 points. True.
We're doing all right at the moment. And they went on to get 90 points after getting 45, if that's any omen to sort of go by. So I will say if we extrapolate this form over the season, I think we'll win the league. Look, I think I'm going to be optimistic and say yes, but the problem is it can all change so quickly. What I will say after today is it's between us and City, which I think people probably, can resign to anyway. But it just kind of simplifies it in the fact that there's only one team chasing, I think. And look, I mean, they're a hard team to keep behind you. I think you all know as a Liverpool fan, they're very capable of frustrating you when you want them to drop points, when you want to keep them behind you down the stretch. But I think we've shown this season it's not a fluke that we are where we are at this point in time, and I'm feeling good about it. Like, it's going to be interesting, obviously, because we got them next week in the FA Cup. So it's kind of a mini dress rehearsal for the 2 league games still to come. So it'll be interesting to see how seriously both teams take that game. And you've sort of seen with Pep Guardiola's comments last week and to the press before the Wolves game as well, after the Spurs game, before the Wolves game, just he knows they're in a title race, and I think that's, he's like Pep. He kind of likes to give backhanded compliments and tell teams how great they are when he doesn't really think they're any good, and we've been on the receiving end of that. This is kind of the first time I've seen him properly kind of rattled, I think, by the team that he's chasing. Obviously, I know Liverpool won the league in 1920, but other than that, he's kind of always seemed to be in control of his emotions and in control of his team. And I thought kind of after that Spurs game and kind of the way he spoke about it, there was just a few cracks there in the way he was describing, the performances and the way they've been playing. And look, if we've just got to keep doing what we're doing, keep them behind us, make them chase us, and I'm confident we can keep going the way we are. But it can all change very quickly.
Thank you for
this
answer.
Yes or no?
You can't help but put that caveat in.
What I heard...
Sorry, Fogel, you have to understand, like, I'm conditioned to expect bad things to happen. Like, I've suffered. I've been in the trenches. Like, there's still a little bit, like, don't get me wrong, it chips away every week, the kind of imposter syndrome of, okay, here's another game, prove that you deserve to be where you are, and we keep passing all these tests. So it's like, there's not that much more that I can be pessimistic about other than what is just simply the unknown. And that is football, and things can really change quickly. I've said it 3 times now, but like at the same time, a few injuries and a few suspensions, a couple of bad results, and they're right behind us. So, look, I think I'm just enjoying the ride.
If you can keep this gap going into those games and just take the draw against them, I think you are over the line. I don't. It would need to be one hell of a collapse if you get through those City games with even 2 draws, and then you lose the league from there. It would be really surprising. I think. I think those 2 games are the clinchers. If City won both of them, it's totally up for grabs. But if he's get through that and keep him at arm's length, then it should be yours.
I kept flip-flopping on this until you guys signed Trossard and until I saw Kivior, the Spezia defender, today in the stands. I don't know much about Kivior. I know he played for Poland in the World Cup, and Poland were, largely okay.
Pretty poor. He had to do a lot of defending.
He had to do a lot of defending, especially against Argentina.
My friend was telling me about his girlfriend. Have you heard about his girlfriend, Harry?
No.
His girlfriend is an athlete herself. She came third and then second in the World Championships for twerking.
Interesting, I suppose.
She's a talented athlete herself. But yeah, there you go.
Well,
that's all I have to contribute about Arsenal.
About Kivior.
Is his girlfriend Mudryk by any chance? Because he was doing a lot of
she's one of the hazards. Ivanovic.
Yeah.
Oh. Stay tuned if that.
Where were
we? Until I saw Kivior in the stands. He was at the stands today, and seeing Trossard's performance when he come off the bench, only a couple minutes, but unreal work to keep. I think there is very small moments that contributed to the win. That was one of them, and he stuck the ball by near enough the corner flag, and then just held it up around four Man United players, and just wriggled around the challenge, just passed it over and floated. He was great. Such a great signing.
He's good, and he's ready. He's ready. He's kind of just he's plug and play, right? Because he's been playing in the league this season, and he has been for a few seasons now.
Yeah,
he's a prime age, 28. He's ready to come in and make an impact now.
Yeah,
and look, I'm not going to pretend I'm not disappointed we missed out on Mudryk, and we'll probably come on to it. He looked sharp for Chelsea, but it's one of those, once we missed out on him, what could we have done in the circumstances, given that everyone knew we had money to spend and wanted a winger? And I think it's not a bad result getting someone like Trossard, because even if he turns out not to be very good, we'll just get someone else in the summer. It's not like we've blown a load on him. It's kind of 25 million, and he becomes a squad player and a useful one, I think. So pretty happy with what I saw today, and I have no reason to think that won't continue.
It's pretty insane that you've paid 25 million on someone and we're saying, oh, that's not a great amount of money. It's just to me.
That's the football
right now.
That's the forwards market.
Yeah. Well,
and also
the football market,
his contract was up, wasn't it, in the summer?
I think they had another year they could trigger. So I think it was 6 months, and then they had the option to trigger a year. Now, obviously, given the fact that he'd fallen out with everyone there, I don't think they would have looked to do that had he gone into the summer. But Brighton aren't mugs. You don't get any bargains from Brighton.
They could have always triggered the deal and then just to sell him, and if not, then they would have loaned him out or something like that. So
you get good players from Brighton, I think, but you don't get any bargains from them. You pay fair whack for their players, and it was no different with them. But I'm content. 25 million, as I said, that in the forward market in January 2023 actually isn't a lot of money when we're sort of looking comparatively. So
I will say you don't really need to be disappointed about the Mudryk deal. But let's talk about the two games. And you've been to both games.
Yeah.
In Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. When are they going to name this stadium, finally? And obviously at the Emirates today. In my opinion, this is not talked about enough how significant in Arsenal's Premier League history these two may turn out to be. So congratulations, first of all. Second of all,
thank you, mate. I feel like a big part.
He wasn't playing.
I know. Well, he's an Arsenal fan. Let me come on.
Hey, we all contributed in our own little way.
Yeah.
Just ask me about that.
Yeah. What really happened in those two games?
It's weird. I was sort of thinking about it earlier, they were sort of different games, obviously, because today we were behind and then they pegged us back. And it actually feels, funnily enough, like as good as we've been at home, we've won 9 out of 10 and drawn the other one. And we've been really good away from home as well. But it feels like the games we've won away from home, bar the Leeds game, which was, pretty all over the place, all the other ones, it's been very controlled. We've kind of won them all the same way, scored and just ended up winning by a goal or 2 goals and not really been under any sort of threat. Whereas it feels like some of the home games, like today, the Liverpool game where they pegged us back twice, the Spurs game they pegged us back, Fulham went 1-0 up, Villa pegged us back. Like, there's been 5 or 6 home games this season where actually, as good as we've played and as much as we've deserved to win those games, we've actually had to make kind of harder work of it. And it feels like some of them, the crowd have kind of got us over the line. I think where it's a young team, I think sometimes maybe one of the things you could level at them is it kind of means too much to them. And that was sort of one of the things I thought today. Like, in the first half, we were just trying to do everything too quick. Like, when we were playing the ball out, just a little bit too quick to try and get it forward, and it's kind of what they were waiting for, to try and win it back, like they did for the Rashford goal. Just kind of played into the hands a little bit.
Yeah, and Partey generally had a poor game, I thought.
Yeah, it wasn't one of his better ones. He was very good against Spurs, wasn't so good today.
Yeah.
And that is something he does sometimes. I think he's very good, but like sometimes he just looks to do too much too quickly, and it kind of just, when you look at top number 6s that have done it for, you've got to remember this is actually quite a new role to him, playing a lone pivot in a 4-3-3. It's not something he's done ever in his career, as much as he was kind of pegged as a, bog standard DM. He's kind of often been a lot more than that in Atletico's system, in our system, until kind of the second half of last season. So I just think it's something that he needs to learn, to know when to just slow the game down a little bit and help us control it. And it got better in the second half, I think, where they tired and we were able to just, sustain attacks. That's when we're playing well, is we're very good. We've got good athletes kind of across the back four and in the midfield to sustain attacks, sustain pressure, and not have to do a lot of defending, running back towards our own goal. And I think in the first half, they just didn't quite get it right. We were just a little bit too eager. But I mean, the atmosphere is unbelievable. The change in just the general mood around the club since coming back from COVID, really, I think that came at quite a good time for Arsenal. I know it sounds like a silly thing to say, but where we were in transition when Arteta came in, so just before COVID happened, we were kind of in that Emery season, doing absolutely nothing, basically. And it was always going to take time. And I think when you look at that COVID season where we came 8th and went on that ridiculously awful run, and there was a lot of teething problems. I'm not saying all that had to happen. Like, it didn't have to be that bad, and I was saying that at the time. But what I would say is, if you're going to have results like that, have them when there's no fans in the ground. And then when everyone gets back in, I think everyone was just glad to be back at football, first of all. Yeah. And then it kind of, we went on this Project Youth and went with young players and, basically decided to blow it up and start again. And I think it kind of, the timing of it all worked out quite well. I think people's attitude towards that was more of an accepting one. I think that's what Chelsea can maybe struggling with a little bit, because they're culturally a bit different club.
It'd be great if there was a bit less pressure from the stands. It might actually help some of the players. So
but Chelsea have always done things, let's be honest, they've always done things differently in any case. And I think when you're following an owner like Abramovich, you're following a manager like Tuchel that's won the Champions League, and before Tuchel it was Conte and Mourinho and all these Ancelotti, all these guys that have come in and win now. I think the appetite towards a rebuild isn't going to be there, first of all. And I know you and George have kind of been more sensible about it. There's just the general mood and sentiment towards that. It is not going to be one of, overriding joy to begin with. I think with us, it was, look, no one wants to be struggling in the middle of the table, don't get me wrong. But at some point, if things aren't working, you have to kind of blow it up and start again. And I think that worked for us. So that was kind of a long way of me basically saying the crowd in the ground at the moment is fantastic. And I enjoy going to games. I mean, we've been very good at home for, not just this season. We were good at home last year. Even the games we lost, when we lost to Man City, when we lost to Liverpool, we were competitive in those games. There were signs that with the right signings, keeping this core group together, we could be competitive in those games, this season and for seasons to come. So, really, really enjoying going to the games at the moment. And if we keep winning, I mean, I'm sure that'll continue to be the case.
And the thing about Arsenal's season and that building up to today's game, you lost one game. That one game was against Man United. You beat them.
Yeah.
And you beat them handsomely. Like, it was... I don't think it was particularly close. Like, it was a close game in a sense that you won in the 90th minute.
Yeah.
And I can imagine the scenes in that, in that moment. But you had 3.25 expected goals from 25 shots.
Yeah.
Like, how many shots from inside the area? 20.
I don't know how many shots.
You had a lot of chances, a lot of high quality chances.
Yeah.
And it's like you honestly dominated them. Like, the goals that they scored were pretty well. Like, the press from Partey's mistake.
Yeah, it was a good goal, the Rashford goal. We got punished heavily for a mistake. It was just a turnover. Absolutely. And it's a great finish.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, like, that happens once every 7 or 8 games. You concede that goal and you just like, we could have done a bit better there. And I suppose the only thing when that happened is you're sort of thinking, like, then they've got the game where they wanted. It was kind of well documented how good they've been when scoring first this season.
Yeah.
I think until this week, until the Palace game, they'd won every single game they'd scored first in.
That's right.
And then obviously they drew that one in midweek and lost today.
That's right.
And
so the second goal came from a mistake as well. Whether it's from Tomiyasu or Ramsdale, it's a great header, but it's a mistake.
He just drops a corner. I mean, what I would say, like, I couldn't believe it. You said we were. Like, when I looked at the stats, so you're right, it was 3 XG to 0.3, 25 shots to 6. I think there was a stat on the analyst that we had something like 60 touches in their box compared to, I think they had 12 or 13 in ours, which was the largest difference between two teams apart from Man City, Southampton, I think, earlier this season.
Wow.
So, like, on paper, we battered them. I have to say, in the ground, probably until maybe the 75th minute, because then you could tell they were really, really physically struggling. They played in the week. They haven't quite... I mean, look, our bench till recently probably hasn't been great, but we just had a little bit more, you felt, with Trossard, with Smith Rowe. If you wanted to throw Vieira on, we just had a little bit more we could put on, whereas they, Weghorst was treading water, Rashford was tiring. They didn't have anything to bring on for those. Rashford, obviously, they weren't going to take him off, but he was tiring. They didn't have anything to change there. Obviously, they took Anthony off and brought Fred on, who's not a winger. He's a centre midfielder.
Yeah.
So it felt like we would have more to give, and kind of from 75 minutes, it did just become literally attack versus defence. But actually, looking at it, really from the Martinez goal in the 59th minute until, the end of the game, there was only one team that offered consistent threat. But you know what they're like? Like, they only need probably 2 or 3 passes to score a goal because they've got 2 midfielders that can play very good through balls, and they've got a guy that's in electric form and just thrives in those situations. We saw it at Old Trafford. We should have won the game at Old Trafford earlier this season, and yet from 1-1 and looking like we were going to go on to win it, one moment they're 2-1 up, they end up winning it 3-1. So there's always that little sense of trepidation about it, just because of what they offer. But I think overall, even though I sort of felt, as I said, the first half wasn't brilliant, and overall, like, we definitely played better in games this season. It was a little bit like the Liverpool game, where first half, you're up against a team that played fairly well. I thought Liverpool were pretty good against us for a half, and then the second half, they just fell off a cliff physically. Man United lasted a bit longer. They probably lasted 60, 65 minutes. But then we really sort of took over, having the week off, having, playing the way we have all season, where we're able to sustain attacks and make teams defend, make them run backwards and move them side to side. Get the guys overlapping and underlapping. Like, we have a lot of threat. We make teams work hard to defend. So
I thought the movement on Nketiah's first goal was incredible.
Yeah, it's a really clever goal.
Really well worked, and like Zinchenko and Xhaka just swap positions and a great ball put in. Like, it's so fluid. And it was also, Gabriel kept popping up, like.
He does.
Everywhere.
Kept falling to him. It's driving me mad.
There was one point where it was like United had a counter attack, and they were running towards like down the Arsenal side, and then whoever the United player was cut back, and at that moment, an Arsenal player tackled them. But it was kind of the position where it'd be a midfielder that's tracking back, catches up, and tackles them. But it was actually Gabriel, and I was like, I had to double take. It's like you should have been way further back, but they were like in a midfielder's position. He's in the midfielder's position, tracking back. He popped up everywhere.
He did.
It's interesting.
For centre back.
Yeah, it's interesting. Towards the end of the Dortmund game today, there was a right towards the end. There was a ball played over the top, and the dude that chested down is straight through our own goals, Mats Hummels. Like, it's just like random.
And they conceded 3, didn't they? So I mean, you're not exactly selling it.
Oh, that was right towards the end of the game. They'd won the game, and we'll get to the Bundesliga later on. Mental weekend. It was really chaotic.
You mentioned the goal already, but just to shout out to the short king, Martinez. He rose like a salmon for that header. He got right up there.
Quite a good header because he sort of like flops it over, a little lob wedge over, and sort of loops under the bar.
Yeah, just under. It's a great header.
Yeah, and he actually played quite well.
Yeah, and his head was also bandaged, like it was a little thing. I don't know if he got a bang on it or during the week or what.
He took a knock in midweek. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But no, I was pleased, all things considered. You know, they are Man United, and if they'd won, Man City would be in the race for that. And I really don't want Man City to win the league. I really don't. But I was pretty pleased because.
Let me ask you guys, right? Sort of before we move on, maybe to talk a bit about Liverpool and Chelsea. Do you look at Man United and think they're catchable this season?
No.
You think you're too far back?
No.
Because I'm sort of looking at Liverpool, like they've got a game in hand. They could get within 1 point of Spurs. They've still got to play Man United.
It's not going to happen, Harry. It's not going to happen.
Look, I mean, I think it's unlikely as well. I struggle to sort of separate kind of what I'm watching from someone like Liverpool, where they put those runs together, and what they've produced in the past. It's sort of like, I know they can do this, but they don't look like they can win a game, let alone win 10 or 15. It's just like doesn't look like it's going to happen.
If Chelsea had a fully fit starting 11, I think we could potentially try them there.
No.
Yeah. It's just a big guy.
It's only 10 points. I actually don't think it. The only thing is they're playing well, and it looks like that's not going to stop. But if Chelsea had a fully fit team back pretty soon, mainly Reece James, I think we could give him a stretch.
It's odd because Man United had such a bad start to the season, but I feel like now they're in a good like place tactically to implement things every game and give themselves a really great chance of winning. But again, like the last 2 games are a draw against Crystal Palace and a win, the defeat today. So you kind of they won't win like so many, like they won't win every single game. Oh, the Lisa goal is sensational. But
someone should try telling him that.
So
I've never seen someone so upset to score.
Yeah, it's like
I think he needs to get his eyes tested or something, because I don't think he saw that it went in the back of the net. Like.
No, I just choose to believe that he's cold like that. Like he's like.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
Sometimes he's just gonna go clean up and leave. Like
I don't know if I like it or not. Like
I love it.
It's kind of I'm kind of impressive, but and like you're like, that is cool. But like, I'd be like, oh, as a fan, would I much rather him just sort of stand?
But you want to see him celebrate? You do.
Yeah.
If you're on the ground, definitely
give it socks and jump into the crowd. Like,
I just really admire that he had this like career moment. He's had a short career. This is one of his bigger moments and better goals. It's Man United at a time. Like
that's what I mean,
this slight relegation threat. If they lose like a point matters. Like, and he just whacked top ins, and
it's not like he's banging him in for fun either. Like, I do like he's a good player. He's very promising, but how many goals has he got this season? I can't remember many. And he scored a goal like that against Man United.
I guess it's 3 or 4.
Celebrate it, man. Enjoy it. Soak it in.
I know he did enjoy it, but like, just turn around. Yeah, that's what I can do.
He's not fooling me.
I'm him, kind of thing.
I wish Chelsea had got him over the guy that we signed, Madueke.
Madueke?
How do you say it?
Interesting. Madueke.
Yeah, I saw a stat about him.
Go on.
Apparently, he's only played 5 full 90s in 4 seasons. Which I thought was absolutely crazy.
Wait,
he's played 5.
I've heard some
seasons.
worrying stats about.
He's really injury prone.
Yeah.
Let me fact check this on our old friend FB.
I mean, my source for this is the Twitter timeline, which, as we all know, can be very hit and miss. But
I'd say it hits more than it misses if it's a popular tweet.
Well, I will say this: in the past 2 seasons, and he is 20 years old. Just for context. He has played 9.1 90s last season, 3.1 90s this season. So that makes it 12.2 90s over the past 2 seasons.
Okay, so you're saying I'm wrong.
Scoring 4 goals and making 3 assists.
I read it as he's only played 4 full games. He's only stayed on the pitch for
that's what I'm saying.
Full 90 minutes.
Okay.
4 times.
That wouldn't be surprising because he started 11 last season and 2 this season. Only 2 games started this season.
I would say it's right. Even if it's not right, I would say it's fairly close. And
I'm pretty sure that's right.
He's been promising football manager, and it's a position we kind of need. But
strikes is the theory, isn't it? Is the top bullies just open the football manager save, or had someone open a football manager save for him and kind of search and like,
I would have much preferred.
That's my Paul I want you next.
With a couple of these signs, I wish we had just waited to the summer and waited for the better option, and then went out and spent the bigger money there and probably got a bit more value for money. But
let me ask you, Fergal, because I wasn't on last week, and you've just you've alluded to it there, right? What's the rush to get all these guys in now? Like, you've pretty much, let's be honest, you can't win any domestic trophy to draft them. The only trophy you could win is the Champions League, which is very unlikely. Top 4 is too far, surely, at this point. Like, I don't understand why they're doing all these signings now.
I don't get it either, unless they've done their homework and they think Mudryk is the guy to sign now. And
he made more sense to me because you had to get him now, otherwise we would have. That made a little bit more sense. The one that didn't to me.
It makes less sense for me than the other one. Because of the options. I thought the one that made the least sense to me, was Felix. Not because he's a bad player, but I just sort of looked at it and thought, 20 million for a loan. He's a great player, but like, what's the upside to this? You know, he has a good loan, and then you have to buy. No, I understood that one because we needed we do need a striker.
But Felix is not a striker.
He's going to play a striker for us, though.
He's a shorter Havertz. Kind of thing.
He's better than
the one thing with people say he's not a striker, but to me, the bits I've seen of Felix, he's got a presence in the box, which Havertz doesn't. Like,
I don't know.
Like Felix will get on the end of headers. Yeah, I think in the right system, he'll be a better false line than Havertz is. Even though I say false line, Havertz doesn't really play like a false line. Really, he's not really dropping deep too much. He plays as a proper striker.
Yeah. Well, it's out of position, right?
He's out of position.
Yeah.
But I can see Felix as a striker. I think he's got the capabilities of it. But yeah. Well, I think we needed some sort of striker.
And he also got that from
him. I think, as you said, you suggested Marcus Thuram, with him being on his contract running out, I thought he probably would have been a smarter move to go for.
Yeah, I agree.
Instead of Fofana as well, because now there's no point if we went and signed Thuram, there's no point in signing this Fofana guy.
Yeah,
hopefully he'll be good, but yeah. But yeah, I agree with I like the players we signed. some of them I think there's better options out there for, like Mudryk. But I don't know if it was a case of with Mudryk, it was like Arsenal are gonna get him. Maybe Chelsea scouting think this guy is the one out of all the left winger options. We actually think he's the best one. I don't know if it's a case of we're still able to attract this kind of player while we're still in the Champions League, and if we go into the summer, Arsenal wouldn't have been in for a left winger if they had to sign Mudryk now. But if we go into the summer and we're not in the Champions League, maybe we miss out on the top talent that we could have gone for as an alternative. So it's like, well, we'll just go gung ho for Mudryk and see how it goes. I think I would have preferred Leao or the Georgian fella for Napoli. Is
he signing a new contract? Leao?
Oh,
huh?
I don't know. Has Leao signed a contract?
Yeah. No, I don't think he has, but it always seems to pop up on the timeline that he's either close to or signing a new contract at Milan. But
right.
He would be expensive either way. He'd be really expensive.
He would be £100 million player, but like I'm thinking if you're
not that much more than they pay.
if you're gonna pay this ballpark figure of 100 million for Mudryk, I think there's slightly better players you could have gone for if you waited to the summer. But then maybe we wouldn't be able to attract those sort of players in the summer. Maybe we'd have more competition. I can't think of too many top teams that have that much money to spend that we would have been competing against, though, because Liverpool.
We don't do these things. We don't improve our squad.
You just don't do it.
Yeah, we just stand still.
Man City, we might have, but then they've got Grealish and Alvarez is kind of playing left wing, or Foden, so they're kind of done there. United have Rashford. Arsenal would have had Mudryk in this alternative reality. Spurs, enough said. And you know, like you're talking Real Madrid. There's Vinicius Junior there. Barca have players, I think, in that position.
Well,
but I don't think they would have went for Real.
They wouldn't have gone for Real for financial reasons. The other thing is they just sold Memphis Depay to Atletico Madrid for $5 million, or $3 million, because it's a contract that was expiring in 6 months. Obviously, we weren't going to renew, so he went early. But there's just money.
That's
my
only. To summarize, I like the players Chelsea have bought. I can't disagree with. I can look back in hindsight on the signings we've made and think they were bad, but a lot of the signings when they were made, we might have overspent for them. But the actual player that we were getting and the idea behind them, I actually don't disagree with. Off the top of my head, without having the list in front of me, I don't disagree with any of the signs we've done under Todd Bowley. With thinking going into it. But in hindsight, Koulibaly's a lot worse than you would have expected. Aubameyang, it's kind of what I expected. But it was kind of like a roll of the dice. It's like, we need some sort of striker quickly. That, you know, do you gamble on him? I would have preferred going for someone, you know, younger and whatever, and maybe a bit more thought out. But if you're doing it in this sort of rushed transfer market that we had, and it was understandable why it was rushed and not planned as much as we would have liked, this sort of short term fill a hole in the squad. He did score a couple of goals for us. I get the thinking behind it, and it kind of just plugs a gap for the moment. But that's kind of my thinking with what we've done. But yeah, you're right. There's no need for us to have rushed into some of the January signings we've made, because there's a really outside chance we could get top four. But I think we need everybody to be back fit, and we need the teams ahead of us to start dropping points.
You need to win nearly every game by this point.
I think so. Yeah. And yeah, is with the type of money you're signing Mudryk for, is he the difference between qualifying for the Champions League or not? I don't think he is that.
Yeah.
So
that's what I mean. It's sort of like, even though Arsenal are more risk averse than Chelsea when it comes to big transfer fees, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying we should have spent what Chelsea ended up spending on him, but given we're going for the title, it kind of made more sense why, if you thought this guy could come in now and make an impact, why we would go for it. Because the upside
the story is that, but at the end of the negotiations, Arsenal put in the same amount of money, and it was just how it was structured that was
I think
given the
I
money
think it was
sooner.
The add-ons,
but
and
the thing with Arsenal is you could have had the deal wrapped up long before we came sniffing for him.
The mistake for Arsenal, looking back on it, was not doing it in the summer. Because if you actually think about what happened, and I know, it's hindsight, and obviously his value's gone up, and there's more of a sample size to look at where he scored 5 and 6 in the Champions League. It is a bit of hindsight. But the thing is, we were after him in the summer. Like, we heavily scouted him. It's one of the reasons he was our top target in January, because there was interest from the summer that carried on. And if you actually think about what happened, Partey gets an injury, and we end up trying to get a centre mid on deadline. We end up going for Douglas Luiz on deadline day. That was our big mistake in all of it. It was switching our focus from doing that Mudryk deal as one that could have been done in the summer for 45 mil.
20 million euros.
I think Leverkusen thought they'd agreed a deal.
Yeah, but they had personal deals agreed even, but then Shakhtar keep wanting more.
I thought Brentford had bid more and it got turned back. Like, basically what I'm saying is 40, it definitely would have been done. If we'd bid 40 million in the summer, we would have got him. And then what's happened is he's done well in Europe, and obviously a lot of clubs were after him in the summer, and even more came after him for January. And they knew they could get more from him. And I think the mistake was not doing it in the summer.
Coming off a summer where he blanked against Ireland, so you could have paid 10 million and
hey, he hasn't scored a goal.
And you might have got him.
Dusted.
No goals for Ukraine, that.
Right. Just
in Nathan Collins' back pocket.
Well, he got out of the pocket for Liverpool.
He got out of the
pocket already. Okay, I have one last question, Harry, before we get into Chelsea Liverpool now. First of all, when did you start going to games for Arsenal? How long have you had a season ticket? Just a
2006. Since moving to the new stadium.
Oh, okay. This makes it an even more interesting question. Is this the best it's ever been at the Emirates?
Oh, by far. I think the only kind of season I could probably compare it to is the season, and I was talking about this with my dad earlier, the season Man United won the league and they played Chelsea in the Champions League final, and that year we were top in February, I think by about 7 or 8 points, and then Eduardo got his leg broken at Birmingham, and I think we drew 5 of the next 7, and Man United and Chelsea overtook us. I think Man United won it on goal difference, or won it by 2 points, and it was similar vibes that year, because again it was kind of a young team. And it sort of felt like maybe it was, a couple of years before they were properly ready to do it, and they were up against really, really good opposition. I mean, the 2 teams that finished above them that year made the Champions League final. That was top caliber opposition. That's the only time I can really recall the ground being as behind a young side as it is behind this one. And as I mentioned earlier, there's contributing factors towards why. The demographic of people in the ground has changed, and the circumstances have changed around the team and kind of what we've been trying to do. Look, ultimately winning games is going to, of course, lead to a better atmosphere, but it sort of goes both ways. The crowd have to give something and the players have to give something back, and that's what's going on at the moment. We're making the Emirates a hard place to play football, and as a result, we're winning games and giving back to the fans.
All right, Harry, congrats again. Thanks for joining, for adapting and joining from your cell phone. It's why if you're watching on YouTube, sorry, it's a vertical. But Harry's a legend.
Yeah,
he showed up with one of my favorite kits ever. So bonus points for that.
Like this,
yeah.
Pleasure, mate. Listen, it's taken a lot out of me the last 2 Sundays, but I think the energy levels going forward will be a bit better. It's got a few easier games, so I shouldn't be as spent by the time I get on.
Yeah, man. All right. Sleep well, because I know I have work tomorrow, so, Try to get your game out of your mind. Focus on working. I don't know. I'll stop waffling.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Cheers, boys.
Honestly, Fergal, we're not going to spend too much time on this. But Liverpool 0, Chelsea 0. I don't want to even start talking about the game because I learned nothing apart from game management is getting progressively worse. That's all I want to say.
Can I shock you? I was quietly happy with Chelsea's performance.
Oh, come on.
I thought Liverpool aren't doing well, but I was there going like, we're pretty solid at the back. I think we had the better chances.
Well, you were solid at the back because we contributed absolutely nothing to the game, and just completely unthreatening.
Yeah, I wasn't that disappointed. I actually thought everybody was saying it was a really bad game. I thought it was poor quality. Like, it was a bit scrappy.
Yeah,
but I thought there was like a good few chances. It wasn't an awful 0-0. It definitely wasn't as good as Man United Arsenal. And I thought Mudryk looked really exciting when he came on.
Can I shock you?
What?
I wasn't too taken aback by Mudryk. I don't know if it's the absolutely furious Liverpool fan in me watching this game, and that was the most heated mad in a long time I'd been watching Liverpool, because I thought we were just awful in everything. And the moment Naby Keita went off for, was it Jordan Henderson? I don't know. No, Darwin Núñez went in, and Naby Keita was the one to come out, not Harvey Elliott. I lost it, man. I lost it. I lost all hope of the season. I finally just threw the towel for the final time. But so I don't know if it's just like the furious fan in me watching nothing happening. But I didn't think Mikhail Mudryk's it is promising in terms of like he was really good with the ball.
I thought he'd done well because he had a couple of nice dribbles.
That's all right.
He nearly. I thought he nearly scored, like, and it was a really good dribble. Do you not think that was that?
It was a good dribble, but plays do it happens.
And he nearly retired James Milner at one point, which wouldn't be hard to do. But
he should have retired last year. I don't know why we extended his contract, but don't tell anyone.
But yeah, I don't know. I came away from it going, it's kind of where Chelsea are at. I thought there was positives to take from it. I think people are being awful harsh on Mason Mount and Conor Gallagher. Conor Gallagher was okay. Yeah, I thought Conor Gallagher was, but he seemed to be getting a lot of hate. And then, I sort of one thing I got was really frustrated about it was so many times Chelsea got into good positions and then just didn't shoot. They should have taken a first time shot. Chukwuemeka just losing his feet. I thought, but I think on another day we could have won that 3-0. And the XG probably won't say that because
the XG doesn't say anything about anything at all because both teams just were.
Yeah, but I thought Chelsea didn't get shots away, and we actually were in more dangerous positions than it would seem. Maybe what do you call it? The expected threat or whatever they call that one.
Expected threat, yes.
Maybe is it expected threat or just threat?
Expected, because expected threat is like a metric that adds up goal scoring probability given the position of the attack at that
or even
point in time.
Expected assists probably would be an interesting one for that game to look at as well.
Yeah, expected assists though, it needs to the assist needs to have the shot needs to have contact as well, which makes
there doesn't need to be a shot and expected assist.
It doesn't need to be a shot. It needs to if a cross comes in, I might be wrong on this, but if a cross comes in and everyone misses it, does it count as an expected assist? Because the expected assist depends on
every
expected goal metric from whoever is finishing the chance.
expected assist isn't it every completed pass it takes where the pass was received, and as if they took a shot from there, and what the expected goal metric would be from there. Isn't that right?
No, the expected assist is it needs to like it is the assist, but doesn't necessarily result in a goal. So it is taken if the shot happens.
No, but there doesn't need to be a shot.
Does
That's
it
my
not
point.
need to be a shot?
No, the expected
well,
assist. They take into account every single pass, even if it did not end up in a shot or not.
That's expected threat. And
no,
it increases or
expected
decreases.
threat is dependent on. Expected threat it can be dependent on a player could dribble into a dangerous area, and that would be a threat.
Yeah.
But expected assist is just passes.
Expected assist.
In fairness, I take it all back. You can tell it was a bad game because now we're deep into definitions of advanced metrics.
Yeah.
Instead of talking about the game. It's expected assist. I'm pretty confident is the they take every pass, and then if the player was to if the player that receives the ball, if they were to shoot from there, what would their expected goals would be, and then that is what the expected assist is.
You are right.
Like,
I actually just looked it up. So fair play.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. My sports science degree didn't go totally to waste.
Yeah.
Even though I probably learned that from a podcast and not from my degree. So there you go.
There you go.
But yeah, that's what I mean. Chelsea, go back to my point. I thought Chelsea got into some threatening positions, and it was just down to like poor execution in around the box. Chukwuemeka probably should have scored. I think Mount definitely could be doing better at the moment. He gets an awful lot of flack though. He probably should be dropped and maybe just like rested and like, you know, take your time to get back to where you were, sort of thing. But like there's Chelsea fans, like there's this like whole thing with like Jorginho fans, and then that are hinting on Mason Mount. Like Mason Mount within Chelsea is like a really divisive player, which is just so bizarre. And he's kind of divisive for England as well. But I just don't get how you can see what he's done for Chelsea and then go just write him off and go like he's crap. Might need to be dropped for a bit. He might be out of form, but like you've seen what he can do. He can be incredible for us at times. And it wasn't his best game against Liverpool. But like there's a joke of a compilation going around, like a fail comp of like the passes, and then there's arrows pointing to where he should have done.
Never trust fail comps. Never trust fail comps. Honestly, the people that do these kinds of compilations, if they like switch their mind for a second to like, okay, first of all, they're a player at Chelsea, so they're clearly like better at decision making in football than you. Let's be like clear. Second of all, you gotta like put yourself in the shoes of the player and think with like what would have influenced not passing the ball there, or like something like Darwin Núñez going one-on-one up against a Man City defender and Salah's right there next to him and the pass is right there and Salah's one-on-one. Like that is a moment where, okay, it is unfathomable that he didn't pass the ball. But in other situations where, you know, it's in the middle of the play and play's congested and like he turned his body a certain way, so he's looking at something, maybe players calling him, like the crowd is loud, the players are calling for the ball, but he doesn't hear them. Like there's tons of things that can happen that can, you know, influence decisions beyond what you're seeing. You know?
Yeah, I just find it so bizarre that like your own fans make like fail comps for like a player that, you know, was one of the main reasons why we won the Champions League.
Besides the point, yeah.
But Mount's been out of form, and in fairness to the fail comps, they do make some good points in that like. The main thing I think people have a gripe with Mount is like his his pass selection in the final third can be poor. But we've seen it be great. So I'm like, he just needs time, or he needs a break. He's played a lot of football for his age. He probably just needs a break, and he's probably not the only one in that Chelsea team that isn't playing well, and it'll come again. I don't mind the people calling him, like saying like he shouldn't be, based on his form, he shouldn't be starting. I do get that, but like to make a fail come as when it's your own team, it's just like, when it's a player like Mason Mount, if it was like, you know, if you want to make one of Sarr, you know, I didn't want to make it, but I made one. It's on an alternate Twitter account.
Yeah,
it's no, but yeah, it's I thought Chelsea were heading in the right direction based off the Liverpool game. I genuinely believe that. I thought there was a lot more positive signs in how we were attacking, and I think it's the attacking that we were struggling most with more than anything, and it just didn't come. But I feel like we weren't that far away from putting a couple of goals past you. It was just a bit of poor selection of decision making in the final third, and then just like not getting. Anfield, there's a few players slipping all over the place. I'm not too sure what it was. For Chelsea, but Chukwuemeka especially was like, he was like Bambi on ice.
And
he's
slipping.
He was close.
Yeah,
but that's all. There's not a lot to say for Chelsea, but I think we're slowly trending in the right direction now.
Yeah. I have nothing to say either. Let's just move on an awful game.
What are we moving on to next?
Manchester City, just very quickly, because...
Okay, well, just before we move on to that, Ferguson struck again, so he has. That's what made my weekend. Evan Ferguson didn't start, but what a great attitude. He comes on, 90th minute, lovely header right into the bottom corner.
Great header. It was
unbelievable
such a good header. One of the headers of the season.
And then he doesn't like celebrate as it's an equaliser. He goes and gets the ball.
Let's go. Yeah.
Come on, boys.
Yeah.
Charges up the pitch. And he's so good. He's so good.
Brighton continue to spawn talent out of nowhere, and we've entered the Irish contingent now, and you know we've gotten all the way east of Japan, and
they keep buying Irish players as well, which means that we're producing good players because if Brighton want them, it means they're good. There's a couple of players. I can't remember the name of the guy, but there's the player from Bohemia that they're looking at and they're expected to go through. There's a guy that is on trial at Tottenham, so he's probably not going to make it because Tottenham are getting him. But maybe.
Keep your hopes up. Go on.
In fairness, Parrots. Parrots not doing too well, but he's Irish Albanian. I think it's Feraj, Ferjaz, something like that. I think his name is. I should have probably done my homework more, but it just came into my head. But he plays for Shamrock Rovers. And he's apparently on trial at Spurs at the moment, so not a guaranteed move. But yeah. But back to Brighton, they got Andrew Moran, who came on ahead of Trossard whenever Trossard was still there. So it makes me think now that Trossard's gone, he's the current replacement, unless they get somebody else in before the end of January, which is quite exciting. And then
being a direct replacement to Karim Mutoma is a huge deal, you know?
Yeah, and I think there's 2 or 3 more other Irish players in the academy, including a fullback called Furlong. But yeah, exciting times, and Ferguson. I'm just hoping he keeps his form up for the 27th of March when we play France at home, and I'll be there. And he just comes into that red hot form. And and we get revenge for Thierry Henry all those years ago.
If we're talking about our national teams, something that could be significant in the future happened with the US men's national team age levels, which is the January camp squad was announced. Paxton Aronson was called up, although he made the move to Frankfurt. He's not ready for the US men's national team. No idea why he was called up. Out of someone like Quinn Sullivan or someone like Jack McGlynn. Who's Jack McGlynn? Jack McGlynn is a Philadelphia Union midfielder who played a crucial role all summer long when he had a genuinely record-breaking summer, and he was central to it. Started the MLS Cup final, didn't do very well there, but it was credit to him. That was his first full season where he's had a genuine contribution. He was called up instead to the Under-20 World Cup, but there's still a chance he plays for Ireland. And if he does play for Ireland, it's a head-on battle, Fergal. It's a head-on battle for a really good talent.
And if I'm right in thinking, Ali, the main man, Stephen Kenny, was in Philadelphia.
He was in Philadelphia for the coaches' convention for the...
You didn't happen to see him or run into him, did you? No,
it was really expensive to go there. So I didn't go. It was very, very, very expensive.
How much for a ticket?
The ticket for the whole convention was $517. For one day was $200. I don't know about the $517 exactly, but I think the one day was like $200 and $220. There was an option to go just take a look around the booths, I guess, that they have set up for different things. That was only $20, but I didn't want to just go take a look around and leave. I wanted to go to the thing.
That's pricey.
It was very pricey. It was very pricey.
You want to have a job guaranteed by the end of that for 500 quid.
Exactly.
Want to do some mad networking.
But yeah, Stephen Kenny was there and gave a talk, and apparently what I read on Twitter from really respected Philadelphia-based sports journalists is that they talked to Jack McGlynn about the situation. I'm concerned. But if he ends up playing for Ireland,
you know what his relation is?
If he does play for Ireland, it would be an earlier step to an international career, because I think that there's a long way to go for him to be at USMNT, because there's just so many names ahead of him. So
yeah, because is he what position is he attack midfield?
Center mid,
or just straight up center mid?
Center mid playmaker, kind of center mid.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a few players in that center mid role that are ahead.
So what we do is diamond midfield. He plays on the right or left of that diamond.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Purely as a player.
And they've changed the rules now. They have to do 3 competitive games before you're locked in.
I think that is the case. Yeah, 3 competitive games. Yeah, I think it's 3 competitive games. So I don't think under 20 Continental. It doesn't matter because he wasn't, I think, in the under 20 CONCACAF when we won it.
Oh yeah, no, it has to be senior level that you're locked in. Yeah.
Exactly.
We'll see how that goes. We've got loads of talent coming through, so Jack's gonna have to do pretty well.
Yeah, he's pretty tall.
Is he?
Yeah, he's pretty tall. He's 6. Is it 2? But he's really lanky. He's gonna have to hit the gym.
Why?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Ireland, US men's national team talk. Not fully done. We'll get back to it in a second when it comes to the US. But Erling Haaland is on pace for 50 goals, and they're still not going to win the league, in my opinion, which is just mental. He scored his 25th goal today. That's more than the top goal scores for the past 4 seasons. I
wonder, does that wind up Pep more? Is that the one time he sort of has gone for a goal scoring striker, and
he
the
got
striker scoring all the goals that he could, and they're actually not going to win the league? Does that just prove to him that he needs false nines, and he needs a rotating forward line that's pretty fluid?
If it does, it's a mistake, because Haaland's scoring all those goals. I think one of the problems is changing tactics too much. And it's a cliche about Pep because it's true. He changes too much. Like he goes with like those like WMs, and we're gonna go 3-3-3-1, and we're gonna play with like Julian Alvarez, a false 9, and Erling Haaland's gonna be like a floating poacher, but we're gonna get Erling Haaland to get so
wide target man.
Wide target forward. He changes things around too much. Oh, Cancelo's gonna go at wing, and then Foden's gonna go wing back. But no, he's gonna switch with Nathan Ake. It's a lot of change, and I don't think it has helped. It in fact hasn't, and that's why they're just starting to find form after the World Cup, which is not good enough, and ultimately they are paying the price with the points difference, with an Arsenal game in hand against them, which is very significant. West Ham signed Danny Ings. Danny Ings has played for every Claret Premier League team: Burnley, Aston Villa, West Ham. Dortmund signed a chap called Dango Altara, who made an assist on his debut. Watch out for him because like very good talent coming out of Liga. Forest signed Chris Wood, which it's just like a very typical Premier League like relegation fight performance. Alex Moreno has now played a couple games for Villa. Looks really good, and I wonder what Luka Dean's future over there is going to look like. Well, he's injured right now. Wolves signing Pablo Sarabia, and it continues the theme of really top players in really top leagues going to Premier League relegation fights. It blows my mind. And then David Beckham's son signed for Bournemouth, but I don't know what else there is to that. Like, is he gonna continue his career in England now? But we'll see. Let's go to Europe. Let's go to Europe very quickly. Or do you have?
You mentioned Craig Dawson.
Oh, Craig Dawson. That just happened today. Yeah, that happened after I took the notes. I was at work. So yeah, that also he went to Wolves for family reasons apparently.
Right, and do you know about on the Leicester signing? Did you mention him?
Leicester signed. Who did they sign? I think
Christensen.
I don't know. I don't know too much about that, but it's good that they signed a centre back because they needed one. Christiansen, Victor Christiansen, Creeves correcting me right now. So yeah, good turn out to be a good sign for them. Leicester City are at a really important moment because the relegation picture is like,
and Everton are on the verge of signing Dan Juma.
That's mind blowing. That blows my mind. This Everton like going for a Champions League semi-finalist last year. They are rock bottom of the Premier League. Again, it continues the theme of top players signing for really bad Premier League teams. Yeah, and it just shows the amount of contracts that the amount of money contractually that Premier Leagues can give, and it's insane to me.
Fabrizio Morano, Dan Juma deal will be signed in the next hour. So hour. So it's done.
When was
Medical done on Saturday. Contract to be completed on Monday.
Ooh.
It will be loan until June. No buy option expected.
No buy option. Okay.
That makes it kind of makes a bit more sense.
Yeah.
And then Zaniolo was getting linked to Spurs.
He was. Zaniolo though hasn't scored at home in 3 years. Well, like a year of that was an ACL injury, but it's still a pretty mental stat. Any more? Loads of transfers in the past week. We might have missed out on some.
I think Man City signed some fella. Argentine playmaker. Perone.
Perone. I think that was more for like Premier League 2 stuff until he develops. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, probably. And then there was talks of Camavinga to Chelsea or Arsenal on loan, but that's been squashed.
Yep, turned out not
by
true.
Ancelotti.
I will say Arsenal will probably need a midfielder. And if we had more time with Harry, I would have asked him about that.
Mokoko's
do they need a midfielder?
His contract at Dortmund.
Mokoko does extend his contract at Dortmund. That was a pretty drawn out negotiation, and he was almost going to leave for free in the summer, which would have been a disaster for Dortmund. So they played the first game back today. We'll get straight into it after this. So good segue. The board were like, get this done no matter what before the first game after the World Cup break, which the Bundesliga came back, and boy did it come back, because Like today, like the one just minor occurrence of the weekend is a 4-3 win. Borussia Dortmund winning against Augsburg 4-3. Like this game showed everything that's good and bad about Borussia Dortmund. I watched the game, and it was just mental how unaware the center backs were. This center back pairing really should be improved on. But Gio Reyna scored a volley from like the right hand side of the penalty box in the 78th minute to make it 4-3. Like, wham! It just flows and drops in. That was after Augsburg had made it 3-3 a minute earlier, and Dortmund had made it 3-2 the minute before. It was just a crazy game. But that was just like one little thing that happened, because the day before, Wolfsburg won against Freiburg 6-0, and Köln won against Werder Bremen 7-1. And if we look at the table, Freiburg, who lost 6-0, are 4th.
Yeah.
Wolfsburg, who won the 6-0, are 7th. Werder Bremen are 10th. And Köln, or Cologne, are 11th. So it's not like, Bayern Munich are playing Bochum and are winning 7-0. Like, these are evenly matched teams. The lower team in the table is winning against the higher league, the team in the table.
There's 4 points between 2nd and 7th. So Wolfsburg,
it's such an
5
interesting
wins
league.
in a row on 7th. And
it's
then
such an interesting
Eintracht
league.
Frankfurt.
Yeah. It's so interesting. And what makes it interesting is that defenses in the Bundesliga are generally not good. So you see loads and loads of goals and swings and stuff.
And Kunku, top goal scorer.
He is.
That's great. Can't wait. Can't wait for him to flop.
Can't wait. He'll go back again. Chelsea will probably buy him in the winter.
Honestly, Juventus just drew 3-3 with Atalanta, and Lookman scored twice
after a 15-point deduction. Major development in Serie A. And there are apparently other teams that were investigated, but all were cleared up. But there's also an investigation that's going to go into the signing of Victor Osimhen at Napoli. That could result in a points loss as well.
Oh.
So Serie A is in a bit of a shambles. Bit of a shambles. I really enjoyed Serie A this season, and I would hate for it to end this way. But Juventus losing 15 points is good.
This is Serie A at its best, though. When there's scandal, there's points deductions, there's...
You do make a good point.
This is pure football heritage, this.
Yeah. It is. Little tabs on Tammy. He scored in the 2-0 win against Spezia. Didn't see the goal. Didn't get to see the goal yet, but there's that. Well done, Tammy. Always happy for him to see him involved in scoring goals, obviously. Two more things, kind of events and developments that I didn't see coming are the fact that, let's say in the Bundesliga let's go back to the Bundesliga for a second, because that will lead to a couple of like pretty heartwarming things that happened. Sebastian Haller came on today for his first competitive appearance after beating cancer.
Wow, so soon.
Yeah, he did. He had played a friendly and scored a hat-trick in 6 minutes against Basel beforehand a few days ago. Unreal. That's unreal. And he played like he never left. Like he had a really good game today. Like really good spell today. And then in Bristol Rovers, there's another player that's currently undergoing cancer treatment, Nick Anderton, and all of the squad shaved their heads bald, including the manager. The manager is Joey Barton. Joey Barton shaved baldy head, kind of in support of that, and they raised 40,000 for Nick Anderton's treatment. Nick Anderton apparently is not going to need all of the 40k, so a chunk of the 40k will go to like cancer fight related charities and things like that and causes. So these were two pretty good things. Probably the most important that happened this week. And we close the recap by probably the most mental game of them all. It's an unofficial competition, but it is a pretty significant one in the Arab world. As an Egyptian myself, the Arab Gulf Cup had its conclusion this past Thursday. An odd day to play a final, to be fair. But Iraq played against Oman, right? When you think about the countries that are in the Gulf, you have Qatar, Asian champions. You have Saudi Arabia, beat Argentina at the World Cup. You have the UAE are really, really good. But you had Iraq and Oman play in the final, which is, in and of itself, is massive. But here's the sequence of the goals. Iraq score first in the 24th minute. And it stays 1-0 until the 100th minute. Because at 90 plus 10, Oman score from a penalty. We go into extra time.
That's what Iraq was saying. Oh, man. Here we go again.
Oh, man. Yeah. Very good. Iraq go into... they go into extra time. 116th minute, Iraq score a penalty. And then in the 119th, Oman, here we go again. Score a goal. And then it feels like it's going to a penalty shootout. Iraq just conceding in the 119th, the final in the dying moments again to deny them the win. 122 minutes. Winner.
For who?
Iraq.
Wow.
What a game. I'm so gutted I missed it. I was in class at the time. I was so gutted I missed it. But yeah, what a game. And it was hosted in Iraq as well. So the place exploded. It honestly did. All right. The final phase. You know what we do, Fergal.
Yeah.
Short King of the week.
Yeah. I've been having a look. Bowen scored twice, and Lookman. I was just having a look at that man. And he scored twice as well.
How tall is Lookman?
My two suggestions. He's shorter than Bowen, so therefore he is better.
Oh wow! Ademola Lookman. To be fair, the originator of Short King of the Week, Lisandro Martinez, did score today, but they lost.
It's conceded 3, so...
Is 5'9". Lookman is 5'9". If Lookman's 5'9", and is considered a Short King, Eddie Nketiah wins Short King of the Week. He's 5'9".
I didn't even think about Eddie Nketiah. Yeah, it has to be Eddie Nketiah, doesn't it?
Eddie Nketiah. Congratulations, Eddie Nketiah, on a massive performance today. Historic, even. If you want to say that. 5'9", scoring 2 goals to... record a late, really important, probably the biggest win of the season so far.
Lovely reflex touch, like just to get his leg up like that, just to get something on it. Done well to stay on side as well.
Yeah,
he's it's great. He's having this moment as Arsenal's main man in a title race, and all the better that he's a Short King.
Fantastic. All right. Fergal, thank you so much. We had a couple of hiccups today, so I'm glad we pushed through them.
They would have never noticed with Kareem, our new editor's marvelous editing. It was seamless, right? Go. Right, listeners?
Yeah, it was.
No pressure, Kareem. No pressure.
No pressure at all. A lot of work to do. Normally not that much, but here we go again. Welcome to the podcast, son.
We're usually a one-take wonder, but, we thought we'd give Kareem a bit of a challenge this week.
Yeah. They're not cutting out Harry having to be, like, on portrait mode at his cell phone, like, Fergal coming and going in, and stuff like that. But, yeah, we do have a new editor. You might hopefully notice an improvement in, like, just the visual element of our podcast, especially if you're watching on YouTube, especially if you follow the podcast on Twitter. If you aren't already, we're on course for 100 followers on Twitter. Let's go.
The big 100.
The big triple digit, baby. And yeah, go follow us over there if you haven't already. Thank you so much if you've watched all the way up to this point, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, like the video. Apparently that helps. And, you know, whatever else they do to kind of support. Share it with a friend. Tell your friends, hey, we have this fella on a podcast that doesn't think Mikhail Mudryk is ever going to be a good deal.
Maybe suggestions for short king of the week.
Yeah, short king of the week. If you have
down in the comments,
I would doubt there's a better option than Nketiah, but you know, let us know if we completely overlook someone.
Ali, engagement.
Yeah,
but there could be if you think there's a better option on Nketiah, say it in the comments.
Yeah, man. All right, shout out Kareem. Thanks for the edit in advance, because you know we're talking in the past here. All right, enough waffle. See you later, Fergal. Next week, hopefully, it's a shorter recording time because there wouldn't be so much happening. But calm down, football. Calm down. Cheers.